Thank you. Good evening. I'm Christopher Dustin, Chair of the Thompson Inland Wetlands Commission, and I'm calling the January 14th, 2025 meeting of the Commission to order at 7 p.m. So happy New Year, everybody. We are meeting via Zoom and we'll be following our standard protocol, which means that this meeting will be recorded for audio and visual content and is under the control of the Zoom host. To ensure optimal sound quality, the general rule for this meeting is that everyone will remain muted except when speaking. Commissioners and staff will generally remain muted except when speaking or voting and will generally have their video turned on throughout the meeting. Applicants, their representatives, and the general public may leave their video on or off, but are asked to turn their video on when speaking. All that being said, no one for whom video is not an option will be precluded from speaking at the appropriate time or from listening to the meeting. All participants should state their name for the record each and every time they speak. Please raise your hand at the appropriate time. Either you can raise it on video or by using the raise your hand feature located at the bottom of your screen to let me know that you wish to speak and I shall recognize you. Please don't speak until you're recognized. If your virtual or actual hand is raised and I fail to see it, which I sometimes do, I realize when we are in the thick of things, please just give a shout and that'll do fine. Remember, that is, just let me know you'd like to speak. Members of the general public may only speak during those portions of the meeting set aside on the agenda for citizens' comments. There are two such opportunities, one near the beginning and the other toward the end of the meeting. Individual applicants, permittees, and violators whose names appear on the agenda and/or their representatives will be invited to speak when that agenda item is discussed. I should remind everyone that if a member of the general public tries to communicate at a time other than that set aside for citizens' comments, or if anyone in attendance speaks out of order in a disruptive or inappropriate manner, or for an inordinate length of time, they may be prevented from doing so, and if necessary, ejected from the meeting at my discretion. So those are the preliminaries. I'll now have the roll. Commissioner Langer.
Present.
Wonderful. Commissioner Morano. Don't see her on the list. So for the time being, I believe Commissioner Morano is absent. Commissioner Obert.
Present.
I know you're here. Commissioner O'Neill.
Present.
Staff members present this evening include Margaret Washburn, our Wetlands Enforcement Officer, Amy St. Ange, First Selectman, and tonight's Zoom host, and Gloria Harvey, Recording Secretary. We do have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is the seating of alternates. Greg Corso is our alternate member. Greg, are you present? Yes, I see your name there.
Present.
Thank you. Seeing as all regular members of the commission are present, are not present at this meeting, it is my pleasure to seat our alternate. So Commissioner Corso, you are hereby seated, which gives you all both the privileges and the responsibilities of joining in discussion and voting as appropriate. The next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the December 10th, 2024 regular meeting of the commission. I, at this point, will, as I always do, will endeavor to share my screen. Let's see. There we go. Try that. Okay. And I am screen sharing. Okay, thank you. And I'll try to make this bigger. Okay, so do commission members or staff wish to offer any corrections to these minutes? And if so, and if acceptable, the recording secretary will please note and incorporate those corrections. Seeing no corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the December 10th, 2024 regular meeting as written.
Chair, I make a motion that we accept the
Thank
minutes
you.
as written.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Neill. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Langer. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes of the December 10th, 2024 regular meeting are accepted and approved as written. The next item on the agenda is citizens' comments on agenda items. And please note that this is an opportunity for members of the general public, other than applicants or their representatives, to inform the commission of any questions, concerns, or observations relating to specific agenda items. The speaking time is limited to 3 minutes. Further discussion of those items by the commission will be reserved for those portions of the meeting specified on the agenda. Are there any comments on agenda items that members of the general public would like to share at this time? Hearing none, the commission will now consider applications. And please note that we are following a slightly revised agenda for tonight's meeting, which was posted on the town website yesterday, approximately. You'll see that the revision is very slight. I'm going to try to move us ahead. The first item under pending applications and old applications is IWA 24044 Thompson Rod and Gun Club Incorporated, 93 Brandy Hill Road and 0 Brandy Hill Road, map 122, block 17, lots 181 and 179C. This is an after-the-fact permit for pond maintenance for removal of aquatic weeds and sediment, repairs to pond aeration system, and installation of a dry hydrant for fire use. I can pull this up, which I should endeavor to do. There we go. So I'm having to skip ahead a little bit here because of the agenda. This is 36. Okay. There we go. You'll recall that we discussed this at our last meeting. Mr. Marcoux, I think you're present, representing the club. Are you there?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. I wonder if you'd like to speak to the progress that's been made. Commissioners will note that this is a revised application. It includes the installation of the dry hydrant. So perhaps you could, and we have some helpful photographs here too that I made.
Oh, can you hear me?
I think we can, yes.
Okay. So we did. Oh, is that okay? So we did move forward, and we were able to get everything cleaned up, piled up, silt fencing put in place, and we're gonna cap that pile with seed and everything in the spring. We will clean everything come spring, and then are you guys getting that back feed or just me?
I'm not.
Okay. So basically everything for reclamation of the pond and all that has been finished. We plan on doing the the cleanup portion of it for the grass and everything come spring. We plan on seeding, strawing, doing all that. In place right now is all the silt fences. Jamie and Matt from the fire department have come out, and we have put together a plan for the dry hydrant on the small pond. And that will be done more towards the spring when the ground thaws and allows. As we do have to dig down a little bit deeper than we thought in order to keep the pipe from freezing and bring it to a level where they will be able to approach it with the fire truck safely. I guess they didn't want to be able to put out a lot of suction line, so we're gonna just extend the pipe out so that they don't have to do that. But other than that, I think everything went pretty smoothly. I don't know if there's anything that the board would have an issue with or take recommendation to us doing. But like I said, we're more than willing to move forward however you would like.
Thank you very much. Do commissioners have questions?
Commissioner, Charlie Obert has a question. I read that some vegetation was taken out of the pond. Are you going to be putting stuff in there to help keep the fish cool? Shade the fish? I don't know. You're a rod and gun club. It seems like a natural habitat would be hard to do because it's a man-made pond, but it gets too warm. So maybe whatever you took out, what are you going to put back in? That's just a curiosity. I don't have any exact jurisdiction over it. I'm just curious.
So our thought process was with the aeration pump, we actually want to be putting in a pump sideways that flows the water. It will take it from the deep end and flow around to the shallow end, giving more of a sense of like moving water for the trout because it is a trout pond. So exactly like you said, we want to keep that coolness in the water. There was some thought into uh, the habitat structures. We have been looking into that, and we are looking with a fish, I guess a fish habitat person that can better set that up. It's all been things that haven't come to light, but are there on paper. So that's kind of where we're at with that process. I think our first stage was to make sure that we got all the weeds and that vegetation out of there so we could reclaim the pond. It was, if you saw in some of the first photos that we submitted, it was very plumed out and not a lot of open water left.
Yeah. Um, I've only seen the pond out of the corner of my eye when I've ridden by there, but uh, it makes sense that you had to maintain it. I like the idea that you're going to try to keep the temperature down for trout. Is that for your members to come up and fish?
Yes.
Um, I like all that stuff. I tend to think in terms of, well, that's a big pond area with a lot of hot water for trout. Bass, I can see. Of course, Commissioner O'Neill knows more about fishing than I ever did. So there you go.
The pump will keep the water oxygenated, which is
Yeah. Chair Dustin, question.
go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I know we discussed this at length in the past earlier, and we did review the documents. And I think it has been very well planned out here, even though it maybe got a little bit ahead of themselves. One observation is, and if I'm not mistaken, is I don't believe there's a permit required for a dry hydrant. That may be something that's permitted as a matter of right in this town, but maybe our wetlands agent could comment on that part. I don't believe it's required to have a separate permit for a dry hydrant. And never mind the fact that it would be a benefit to our community to have more hydrants than less. So I see it as a overall positive improvement here. Thank you.
Our wetland enforcement officer in her report did remind us, or at least remind me, that you're correct. A dry hydrant is a use permitted as of right.
Okay, thank you.
This is Margaret Washburn. May I please say something?
Please, Margaret, thank you.
The image that you're looking at shows approximately the spot where a pipe is going to take water out of the pond, and the actual location of the proposed hydrant is shown on a map in the supplemental Zoom documents. There were 3 of them that were posted yesterday, and the actual dry hydrant is going to be about 70 feet away from the edge of the pond at the discretion of the fire marshal and the fire chief of the Thompson Hill Fire Station.
I don't see that as an issue, and I understand why we need to see it down low under the frost line, under the freezing line, or it won't be any good if it's too cold. And it doesn't really impact the pond except if there's a fire and they need to take water out. as long as the aquifer up there, and that's a pretty good, I remember that area. That's got a lot of surface outlets, spring water up there.
So the X that Jamie Sine drew on this plan shows the proposed location of the hydrant where the trucks could connect to draw water from the pond. It will probably be a 6 or 8 inch PVC pipe underground from the edge of the pond, probably 5 feet into the pond to that point. So that the trucks won't sink into the wet, soft soil around the pond.
Ah, I wondered why they were setting it back that far, but that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or concerns from commissioners? Mr. Marcoux, am I right in thinking that the work is completed with the exception of the dry hydrant?
Correct.
It looks good to me. If there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion to approve IWA 24044.
Chair Dustin, I make a motion that we approved IWA 24044.
Thank you very much. You got a second for that?
I'll second that. I'm also curious for an update, maybe in May or whatever, to see how their scientists who said, who we have heard is consulting with them about vegetation. I'd like to know what they come up with.
Mr. Marcoux, would you be willing to revisit us in the spring? And
Yes, of course.
I think we would be interested to hear how that's done. Thank you. So I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, any further discussion? Not, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? IWA 24044 is approved. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Marcoux, for working with us. The next item on the agenda is SUBD 24045, Miev Bodenhofer. I hope I'm pronouncing that first name correctly. Zero Capitulic Road, map 40, block 88, lot 169A, 2-lot subdivision. No work in the wetlands, work in upland review area on both lots. And I don't know if Daniel is here to represent this project, or I think is here. Either or both of them would like to speak, you're welcome to. Anyone?
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Daniel, there you are. Yeah.
Here we are. All right. Daniel Blanchette. I'm a licensed civil engineer and surveyor. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Mrs. Bodenhofer. The applicant owns a 6-acre parcel on Capitulic Road. She is proposing to split that into a 2-acre and a 4-acre building lot. No work is proposed within wetlands. Shunway Brook is located across the street, and portions of the driveway are located within the upland review area of Shunway Brook. I think I gave a pretty detailed presentation on this at the last meeting. I had a site walk with Mrs. Washburn a few weeks ago. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any questions for the applicant's representative? And I'll remind everyone, it's obvious we pointed to this, that the driveways cross the review area here, but Capitulic Road lies between those driveways and the wetland itself.
I have a question. I'm sorry I didn't see this last week, but is this closer to Route 131 or down towards the bottom of the hill on Capitulic Road?
More towards the bottom, yeah, more towards the bottom.
On the right-hand side as you're going down the hill? No, it'd have to be on the left because of the brook.
Hmm.
I just don't picture the lot in relationship to the valley on this.
This is Margaret Washburn. I'd like to suggest that maybe if there is a locus on the plan, you could show the locus, Chairman Dustin, and that would help Charlie visualize where the project is.
What is a locus other than an,
A locus shows the exact work area within the larger geographical.
I would, Daniel, is there a locus on the plan?
Yeah, if we could scroll up, please. Up. And maybe one more. Okay, there we go.
All right.
as in locus, as in location?
Yes.
There we go.
So closer to Brickyard Road than 131.
Oh, Brickyard Road. Okay, I got it exactly now. Okay. And it will be on the right-hand side as you go down the hill. Okay.
Yes, sir. Just past a big cornfield.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions from commissioners?
Well, that's a pretty valley.
If not, I will entertain a motion to approve SUBD 24045. Do I hear a motion?
I'll be happy to offer a motion to accept.
Thank you. Do I have, was that Commissioner
Dave.
Lang?
Yes, it was.
And do I have a second on that motion?
Commissioner O'Neill, second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Neill. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Any abstentions? SUBD 24045 is approved. Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, everyone.
The next item on the agenda, new applications beginning with MD 25001, Christopher LaJoy, 8 Fabian Woodstock Road, map 18, block 81, lot 51, modifications, the modification of WAA 24035 to allow for a septic repair.
I make a motion that we approve the application to repair a septic system.
I think is I'm wondering if that, Commissioner Obert, if that's a little premature. Margaret, are we still waiting on something here for, you had requested.
Yeah, if you look at my report here, it will tell you that, oh, that's the first report.
Okay.
My recent inspection report says that I thought there should be some more sediment controls at the very far western edge of the proposed septic system because there are wetland flags there, and Daniel Blanchette said he would gladly provide a revised plan showing some sediment controls at that westernmost end. And also, I think there should be some between the septic line and the tank and the pump chamber and the wetlands to the south.
Mhm.
So Daniel indicated he'd be happy to give a revised plan, and the applicant, Chris LaJoy, said he'd be happy to comply. And also, just a reminder, this is a new application, and in order to allow for the time for someone who wanted to submit a petition for a public hearing, it should probably be approved at the following meeting or be voted on at the following meeting.
I'm, it's a Chairman Dustin, I'm inclined to agree with that. I mean, we've been promised and are awaiting a revised plan that includes those sediment controls, which are important. I mean, looking at this plan, I wouldn't have guessed that there were wetland concerns to the south and the west. And since this is a new application, And given that the work is we would be approving cannot proceed in any case until the ground thaws, I think we do well to reserve action on this application until our next meeting. Other commissioners have thoughts about that?
This is Charlie Obert.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, Commissioner Obert, go ahead, please.
I can see your point of view. To me, it seemed fixing a septic system in this area was the prime goal, and that approval had been made, application had been made through the Department of Health, and that the drawings were there. Yes, these points they're noteworthy. They're small compared to the whole thing. I don't mind waiting for the drawing to be revised.
Well, I'm inclined to agree that it seems the application as it stands seems unproblematic. But given that we like to have things well documented, it seems to me that having the plan that includes the silt fencing would be consistent with our practice.
And it's a small issue, so I don't see any, I'll wait, but I don't see any issue with it. So we've already heard that the engineer and the owner said, yeah, no problem, they'll work on that.
Right. Excellent.
So, okay.
Commissioners?
George O'Neill, Chair, I concur with your assessment that, given the timing and the season and no harm but delay, and we would seek to have full information about applicants and the condition upon the time we vote. Therefore, I think delay is best. Thank you.
Thank you. It's largely a matter of precedent. That we want to know where those okay, thank you. Let's move on then to MOD 25002, Strategic Realty Incorporated, Zero Aquatic Town Farm Road, map 145, block 14, lot 14. This is a request to modify IWA 18027, which was a permit to excavate sand and gravel to create a 6-acre plus or minus pond, partially in the 200-foot upland review area. I'm gonna, I now have to go backwards with these materials. And
While he's doing that, I have a question for Margaret Washburn. What is the date on the original application for this gravel site?
I believe I can answer that question. It was December 11th. Oh, the application. That a question.
The original application to do the work is years ago.
The permit was
shortly after George O'Neill joined our commission.
I can tell you the permit was issued on December 11th of 2000.
Yeah, but he's referring to an application that's years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he never mentions that application number.
33. Margaret, can you speak to that? I want to get back to. Are you there?
Yeah, you just went by the actual permit that was
Right.
issued. So it dates back to 2018.
2018.
And
Yes. At that time, my recollection is that separation from the wetlands with the pond that was being built was a prime consideration. We didn't want those two to mix up.
Right.
And so there's a 200-foot wide strip from an important wetlands, which they casually mention with a checkbox. And the intent of this application is to undo the previous requirement, completely undo it. I don't know why. We were quite generous with the boundaries that were permitted, and that's an important heron rookery and an area that's preserved by the Wyndham Land Trust. It's I'm willing to recuse myself from the vote because of that, but I'm telling you that this whole thing sounds pretty pretty like an unnecessary process. Why should we hook up the two? I would like to see signatures from somebody who is a biologist that can say you want to hook up the two or you never want to hook up the two. Not just the signature of the secretary from the graveling operation and a suggestion that we look to an attachment for the signature of the owner.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. One thing you are pointing out, and I was going to start with this, is that this is an ever-changing landscape. I mean, not just the landscape we're looking at here on the screen, but a procedural landscape. It's, as you will recall, this commission was initially asked to rule on an application in the alternatives being a declaratory ruling or approval of activity, the enlargement of the pond. Then we were asked only for a declaratory ruling, the application for a new permit having been withdrawn. And now we're asked to consider modifying an existing permit from 2018. My understanding is that the application for declaratory ruling, which is formally DEC 24043, has been withdrawn. For that reason, we have no choice but to treat this as a new application, which we should certainly discuss, but perhaps not act on tonight for that very reason. So I don't know if there is a representative, if Attorney Heller is here tonight, a representative of the applicant, who can help us to navigate all of this.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Harry Heller, 736 Route 32 in Uncasville, representing the applicant Strategic Commercial Realty, Inc. First, with respect to the issue about the date and the modification of the permit, as the original permit indicated, it was for a period of 5 years. But in the interim between 2018 and today, we had the COVID-19 pandemic. And as a result of that, the Connecticut legislature significantly altered the procedural requirements with respect to land use permits, not just wetland permits, but zoning permits and subdivision permits also. So that 5-year statutory period was extended to 14 years. And that, along with a couple of other issues in the record, there was a letter, I believe, from the town zoning official based on discussions with the town attorney that had recommended contemporaneous filings of modifications of applications to modify permits submitted both to the Planning and Zoning Commission as well as the Wetlands Commission, as well as a recommendation of alternative procedures in a memo from your prior wetlands enforcement officer, Marla Butts, that has caused us, first of all, to try to find a procedural methodology that would allow the commission to evaluate the application on the substantive issues as to whether or not this proposal will result in an adverse impact to a wetland or watercourse, rather than ending up in litigation about whether or not there is jurisdiction to consider this application. So that explains why the application has evolved, and we have chosen the path to seek to modify the 2018 application with that permit still remains in effect. Now, with that being said, whatever the procedural path is, the real purpose of the proceeding before your commission is to evaluate the application and determine whether or not what is being proposed has an adverse impact on a wetland or watercourse. There was discussion a few minutes ago about the 200-foot jurisdictional line which is delineated on the plan that's on the screen, which is, under your regulations, a setback from noteworthy wetlands. So we acknowledge the original permit that was issued by your commission, authorized work, a portion of which, all of the work, by the way, is in the, or was in the uplands. But originally, a substantial portion of the originally permitted pond was within that 200-foot upland review area. The proposal that is being considered now is work that's exterior to that 200-foot jurisdictional limit, but which may, under certain circumstances, have an adverse impact on the wetland or watercourse. And for that reason, concern was expressed as to whether or not the spillway that was installed in conjunction with the original permit issued by your commission had adequate capacity to safely carry the 100-year storm event without an adverse impact on the adjacent noteworthy wetland. And you have an opinion dated December 3, 2024 in the record from David McKay, who is the professional engineer at Boundaries, who looked at the contributing area to the proposed revised pond, as well as the sizing and carrying capacity of the spillway that was installed and that's in place. And as his letter indicates, it's in place with intermediate riprap. So it's large stone and well armored. And his calculations indicate that that spillway has the ability to capacity to carry 98 cubic feet per second in the 100-year, or that's what the carrying capacity is, and that the design flow in the 100-year storm event would be 68 cubic feet per second. So it has ample capacity to handle the flow and protect the noteworthy wetland without adverse impact. And he also indicates in his correspondence that the velocity in the 100-year storm event is 2.8 feet per second, which is, even in moderately well-drained soils, is a non-erosive velocity. So we feel that the physical characteristics of what is being proposed will not have any adverse impact on the wetland or watercourse. Now, I did not see anything in the record that I reviewed that indicated that an interconnection of these ponds was even contemplated at the time that the 2018 permit was issued. If I'm wrong, I'd ask you to point me to where it is in the permit, but I simply did not see it. And I would point out that in the plan that was approved by the commission in 2018, which was prepared by Provost and Rivero, not Boundaries, note 6, I believe it is, in the excavation notes on page 6 of the site plan indicated that both the depth and the sides of the pond which was permitted would be subject to modification based on the extent and quality of the material encountered. So at the end of the day, I think we should look at one, whether or not there is any possibility of an adverse impact to the noteworthy wetland or watercourse. And based on the evidence that's in the record and the fact that the original permit, which was much closer to that resource, was permitted, we feel strongly that there is no possibility.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to open this up and hear from really all commissioners. But before I do, I'd like to point out that the application to modify IWA 1827, the current application, refers to the excavation of a plus or minus quarter-acre area within jurisdictional limits of the town of Thompson, the purpose of which is to interconnect existing water-filled excavations with an adjacent excavation in Putnam. I'd also like to point out that IWA 18027 was originally a permit to conduct regulated activities associated with the excavation of sand and gravel to create a 6 plus or minus acre pond. So as I read it, that original permit was to create a pond. The current request is to excavate within an existing pond, which, in the opinion of our wetlands enforcement officer who's inspected and documented it, is now functioning as an inland watercourse, as a natural resource with established populations of hydrophytic plants and other wildlife that are regularly interacting with it. So I need to hear what other commissioners think, but as I read it, what the applicant is proposing now is not simply a modification of an existing permit to conduct a regulated activity, namely make a pond. It's a request to conduct a different regulated activity, which is to work in and in close proximity to a watercourse. And that, as I understand it, would, and I think the commission has been sending this signal for a while now, would require an application for a new permit, not an application to modify an existing permit. And I'll further note that requiring a new permit rather than a modification of existing permit when a project is significantly enlarged or substantially altered has been the historical practice of this commission. So at this point, I would really like to hear from other commissioners and perhaps.
Would you like me to address that comment first, Mr. Chairman?
Attorney Heller, please, feel free.
Yeah, and look, reasonable people disagree. You know, we view it differently. We do not believe yet that excavation has obtained the characteristics of a regulated wetland or watercourse, because the permit is still in full force and effect, and there is an area at the east side of the originally approved excavation that has not yet been completed. So again, you know, I'm not discounting your position. I'm just saying that that's our position, and you know, sometimes reasonable people just don't agree.
Thank you. Thank you. That's always very helpful. Hey, other commissioners?
I have some observations in addition to what I tossed out. We were strong about the fact that creation of this pond out there and removal of the gravel made sense, because we could see where a partial mining operation took place in the 1920s and 30s. And this was just going to clean out the whole area, recoup some of the materials. But we said, keep it away from the wetlands, and 200 feet, it's an important wetlands. The other point I just heard was Mr. Heller said there's still some off to the east side that hasn't been dug out yet. So the permit is still open. I'm curious if his comments about COVID meant that they weren't able to get out there on shovels in COVID because they were outside, but beside the point, some loophole in Hartford said we could extend this out to 14 years. And the primary thing that I read in their paperwork that they wanted to modify was to hook up to the pond, to the natural pond, the beaver dam. And it didn't make any sense to me at all. I just heard Mr. Heller say something that was quite a bit like what I thought I read. I don't understand why they need to think they need to go out there and connect to the pond, especially when they still have gravel on the other side of the site that they haven't dug out yet. Absolutely, I need a full application. Absolutely, I need to see qualified scientists have done the study on this. I said it a few minutes ago. I'll reiterate it. This is a very important in a lot of ways. It's an important wetlands. It's an important precedent. And that's about as much as I'll say about this tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Obert. Other commissioners?
Chair Dustin,
Yes, Commissioner O'Neill, thank you.
thank you. Yes, Mr. Heller, I want to thank him for his comments, and I note that he incorporated by reference prior comments by, I believe, Mr. Falsley of boundaries and a study that was done there and calculations. I want to know, I mean, this is to our agent. Do we receive a copy of that analysis? One, and two, do we have independent analysis not provided by the applicant, but by independent third parties that would help shed light onto this matter? Because as a commission, we want to make our decisions on an informed way and based on facts and objective data. And I'm just, given the nature and as pointed out by Commissioner Obert, the sensitivity, I want to make sure we have reviewed that. And I'm looking through my documents. I don't remember seeing that report, but maybe, I could have, mine could have forgotten it, or it has yet to be provided. There's a question. Margaret, do we have that report?
This is Margaret Washburn. The report from the engineer, David McKay, was in the Zoom documents for a previous meeting. And so we absolutely have it, and it says what Attorney Heller said it says.
Okay. That was the attorney. So the engineer that performed the report was working for the applicant, correct?
Right. We do not have any independent reports from any scientists giving information regarding what Commissioner Obert was mentioning.
Right. Okay. So my thoughts are that given the nature of this and obviously we've got exhibits, but perhaps a site walk would be appropriate to take a look at this, and maybe we should continue the process if given this is a new, given the comments that have been made so far. Thank you.
Thank you.
A note that just popped into my mind, I bet the owners of the property, the Wyndham Land Trust, would provide expert opinion, which is independent of the town and independent of the applicant. So I think that should be considered.
Thank
Commissioner Dustin, one other comment I should have added when I thought of when Commissioner Obert mentioned it. I'm also a member of the Wyndham Land Trust. I had forgotten that this is a property, so I don't think how much bearing it had on my thought. I was thinking more of the sensitivity of the project, but just want to disclose that if recusal is required, which I don't believe it should be a disqualifying element. Otherwise, we'd have no commissioners here. But I just wanted to offer that observation and fact. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Other commissioners with questions? So in the interest of moving this forward, so it seems to me that there are three questions here on which we need to reach some consensus. If not at this meeting, then at our next meeting. The first is whether the pond that has been created is a water course as defined by the regulations by which we're bound. The second is the proposed work regulated as defined by the regulations by which we are bound? And the third is, can the proposed work be considered a modification of the work that was originally permitted? Or should it require a new permit? I will point out that if the commission agrees that the previously excavated pond is a functional water course, then of course it would describe a new, in this case, 100-foot upland area within which the proposed work could be conducted. So that would settle the jurisdictional question. And I'd also like to, I'm not accustomed to talking this much, but I'd like to state for the record, because this is so complex, that at least my own sense from our prior discussion, and commissioners will please correct me if I'm mistaken, or as I'm hearing now, supplement what I'm saying because you have the experience with this. And my sense is that the commission is inclined to view the proposed work as jurisdictional really on two grounds. One is that the project as a whole, which is now altered and expanded, connects with and drains into a significant wetland in the town of Thompson. And the previously excavated pond has become a functional watercourse. So the commission has a legitimate concern about the potential impact of the proposed recontouring of the existing pond, the area of which would be enlarged by a third. I'd like to point out. Now, you're right that the focus of the commission's concern was on the capacity of that spillway to the north to accommodate a major flooding event. And we did request and receive a spillway capacity evaluation. And based on that assessment, my sense was that the commission may have been reassured as to the potential impact of the proposed project and may have been prepared to grant a new permit. It seems to me that that course may have been in the applicant's best interest, but that's not what's being asked for now. And what is being asked for may not be something the commission that is to modify the original permit, may not be something that the commission is prepared to grant. I think that's all I'll say for the time being. If commissioners or Attorney Heller, you have anything to add, but it seems to me that by the time we meet again, we need to be prepared to answer those questions. Whether this should be a new permit, whether a modification suffices, whether the pond that's been, and these are interrelated, whether the pond that's been created is indeed a functional watercourse, and whether the proposed work in and around that existing pond is regulated.
I have another aspect of that, Mr. Chairman. Charlie Obert here. Is that work to improve the spillway even necessary? If there's enough of a flood to overfill this 6-acre pond, then the wetlands are going to be flooded too. So, you know, you're talking about a 1 in a million shot that the water would overflow the pond and have room to go down into the wetlands, which is the same elevation as the water in the pond. I saw that on one of the drawings that was provided.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, we're not proposing to modify the spillway. The engineer says that the spillway is sufficient.
Is adequate.
And just because I'm reading or listening to some of the comments, I want to make sure everyone understands that the work that is being proposed is at the remote part of this project from the noteworthy wetland. The noteworthy wetland is to the north, and this commission has previously permitted under the 2018 permit work in much closer proximity to that wetland. This is, at least in a site-specific sense, remote from that noteworthy wetland, a majority of which is in the town of Putnam. Now, we have submitted a permit to modify the 2018 permit. So I think that one of the three questions that you indicated that the commission needs to consider has already been answered, because by submitting a request to modify, we're acknowledging that there's jurisdiction and you have the right to evaluate this on a substantive basis to determine whether or not what's being proposed will have an adverse impact on wetlands and watercourses.
Thank you. Thank you. Other commissioners, any remaining comments or questions? So I'll highlight something else you said, Attorney Heller, which it seems to me to be apt, is that the point of disagreement here, or I shouldn't just say disagreement, the important question is whether the existing pond constitutes a watercourse. And to answer that question, Commissioner O'Neill, were you proposing a site walk so
Yes,
that the
Chair, I was suggesting that, given the attention we were having paid to this and to refresh our recollection of it. And therefore, that would require we continue this process.
Thank you, thank you. I will point out that in Marla Butts's email, and to be clear, we all know that Marla Butts is no longer the duly authorized inland wetlands agent for the town of Thompson, and the suggestions that email contains were suggestions made to the current inland wetland agent. But to my knowledge, Marla Butts had not visited this site, at least not recently, and wasn't in a position to assess whether the existing pond, the pond had been created, was in fact a functional wetlands. So something like that might be very helpful to us. Margaret, is that something we can set up?
Are you asking about this is Margaret Washburn, are you asking about scheduling a site walk?
Yes.
I suppose it's really up to the applicant to answer your question and not me, but I think that when you got your permit, that when they signed for the application originally, it said that the commission or its agent are allowed to do inspections at reasonable times.
Thank you.
Yeah, we certainly don't object to that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
I just ask that we not do it in the next week or two, so give me a couple more weeks to get back on my feet.
Oh, yeah, how are you? How are your feet?
I'm making progress. I'm supposed to be weight bearing next Monday.
Okay, that's something to look forward to. Well, I think, Pat, your recuperation, and given that it's meant to be bitterly cold next week, it encourages postponement. So, Margaret, is that something we need to schedule now, or is that something that can be scheduled by email?
The commission needs to schedule it during a meeting.
Ah, okay.
I've got a couple things I want to point out while we've got the plan in front of us too, if I may. One is that Attorney Heller has asserted that all activity in conjunction with the modification is proposed in upland areas, but you can see here by looking at the plan that some of the work is in the pond that exists already and not in an upland area. And also a corner of the proposed work is in the 200-foot upland review, 200-foot upland review area to the sensitive wetland.
Thank you. I had meant to point that out. So, commissioners, if this is January 14th, our next regular meeting will be February 12th.
I would like to see this site, whether we schedule a site walk on a Saturday or I can just contact Margaret when she's in her office hours.
Well,
But I want to see it again.
my understanding, and I have never seen it.
Mr. Chairman, the site is gated, so we need to be there to let you in.
Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to propose, and Attorney Heller, I don't know if this is enough time for you, Saturday, February 1st.
I think that's fine.
That good? Okay. Other commissioners and any conflicts with that date?
Looks good to me.
That's
Okay.
good.
Thank you. And
At
can it
What time?
9 o'clock too early?
Nope.
Can we do 9:30? Because I have about an hour drive.
Oh, dear. Okay.
Make it
Yes.
later.
As long as you bring the coffee.
I'll bring coffee and donuts. How's that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Would 10 o'clock be easier?
Yeah, 10 o'clock would be
Yeah.
great.
Then
Okay.
let's make that 10 o'clock.
Might be warmer.
Yeah, right. This
Uh-huh.
there in the sky.
Okay, thank you.
Heard that? Good. And then hopefully we can make some make progress with this.
Great.
Thank you all for the conversation. It was very helpful and very forthright. Thank you, Attorney Heller, and best wishes for a continued recovery.
Thank you, and I will see you on the 1st.
Okay, thank you. We look forward to it. Okay, pardon me, I've misplaced my agenda. The
Mr.
next,
Chairman, before
Yes.
we leave this topic, I have an observation.
yes,
I think we're going to need to have our IT person take a look at the forms that we have online. All of those that came through with the first batch of extended Zoom documents,
mhm,
you'll see quite a few of them where the typing doesn't stick in the field.
ah,
And
Okay.
it's a fairly simple matter. It might be that they'll have only 5 words, and then it goes into a window that when you click on it, it opens up for you. But otherwise, the form looks neat online.
okay.
I don't know. Those things bother me. I've got that attention deficit, whatever.
You have other virtues and talents.
OCD,
Yeah.
all the alphabet.
Perhaps this is something that Margaret and I can sit down and look at and think about how to remedy. Okay, I believe that because we have received no applications since the agenda was posted, and so that and we have no requests for permit extensions, and that brings us to active violations and pending enforcement actions, which I think is my favorite item on tonight's agenda because there are none. So I'm going to say hip hip hooray. Let's keep it that way. And clear evidence that our enforcement officer is clearly doing very good work. The next item on the agenda is new business, and will be a request from the zoning enforcement officer, Cindy Dunn, and Planning and Zoning Commission members to address this commission. That is to address the IWC minutes from the November 12th, 2004 meeting, specifically pages 4 to 6. So Cindy, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen so we can see you.
Okay,
And hear what you have to say, and then we can look at other things as need be.
okay. Are you ready?
We're ready.
Okay, thank you. It's interesting, the discussion you just had on the Zero Aquatic Town Farm Road, is what I'm leading with. And it's apparent that I simplified, our application, and listening to all of you, it's just sort of out of my scope of, compliance for the inland wetlands. So I will start with the minutes I'm referencing, start on page 4. And it does start with Rawson's original permit with the Inland Wetlands Commission and with the Planning and Zoning Commission. Well, the Planning and Zoning Commission permit was 24/30/35, which was a amendment to the original application. So the Inland Wetlands Commission discussed the application for strategic commercial realty at Zero Aquatic Town Farm Road concerning the pond expansion. So I'm taking a quote from the minutes, which is page 4, stating and this is a quote, the IWC did not have an application before this project went to Planning and Zoning Commission. It came to the IWC attention that the PZZ approved the amendment to the approved special permit. As a result, there had been some internal conversation about procedures. The IWC should generally approve an application first, but because the IWC did not get an application, this didn't happen. So again, I'm going to repeat my decision to bring the PZZ 2435 to the commission for their approval. And that was based on no work was being done in the upland review area. A pond is being expanded between the town of Thompson, about 20 feet or so, and the town of Putnam. When completed, it is my understanding the pond will be under the jurisdiction of DEP and local Inland Wetlands Commission. Because of the IW disagreement with the PZZ and my actions, I was asked to write a letter to Rawson Strategic Realty, stating, I'm losing myself here, I'm sorry. I was asked to write the letter explaining my delay in submitting an amendment to the renewal permit. And that's basically what I said. We're waiting for the inland wetlands decision. I did not elaborate on anything concerning the inland wetlands jurisdiction because that is not my purview. And so I received the comment back that I was not being specific enough in the request to delay the amended permit. And then that was from Commissioner Dustin. I mean, excuse me, yeah, Chairman Dustin. And then I wrote back to him and said, I have no authority to speak for the Inland Wetlands Commission's concerns. So taken from the Inland Wetland Commission minutes, page 4, last bullet point, continuing on to page 5, the decision from Chairman Dustin and the Chairman of the Planning Zoning Commission are going to meet next week to talk about getting wetlands to sign off before the Planning and Zoning Commission does. My comment on this action in the meeting was held between the two chairmen and the planner. My comment on this action, both IW agent and ZEO should have been invited to this discussion. The second part of the minutes in this section was the Planning and Zoning Commission also signed off on another project, did not come to the IWC. So a couple of projects got approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission at the 10/28/2024 meeting without IWC approval. And so my comment on that is a couple of projects did not get approval. One particular project was our application 2426, an amendment to the original permit, which I believe is your violation, 23013 permit IWA 21028, Zaduki 1574 Riverside Drive. And it was show cause hearing for grading work that has exceeded the scope of work shown on the approved plans. Concerning our vote on this application, unfortunately, there was misinformation on the votes at the 10/28 meeting that were published online. 4 votes at that meeting were recorded wrong, which were corrected at the PZZ meeting on November 25th, 2024. At the 10/28/24 meeting, during the discussion of this application, I clearly stated application PZ 2436, Zaduki amendment to the PZC existing permit. The commission could not approve this until the wetlands approved the wetland permit. And the application was voted on to continue to the November 25th, 2024 PZC meeting. And I believe Mr. O'Neill was at that meeting and he heard me make that statement. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did not approve that application at the 10/28/24 meeting. Now, I'm going to state something about that meeting. I don't know if everybody realizes that meeting was from 7 o'clock to 11:15 that night. Our recording secretary was on Zoom. He actually had COVID that night, and he was feeling so sick that he actually had to leave the meeting. Recording in that room was in the one of the rooms in the library. The audio equipment was horrible. It was a huge meeting, and probably in my whole years of experience of going to municipal meetings, it was probably one of the worst meetings I've ever been to, as far as trying to pull everything together. And I felt really bad for the recording secretary having to pull all that together. So that is my comment on that meeting. I just want to have the commission members understand what a difficult meeting that was that night. So the next part is statement of minutes on page 5, the second and third paragraph after the last bullet point. This discussion was critical and negative to the actions of the PZZ members and the zoning enforcement officer, which is myself. In regard to the PZZ approving applications before wetlands approval, I remember one time when that occurred. I reminded the commission at that time that they could not approve without wetlands approval. And I distinctly remember one commission member making a motion to quote, application approval on condition of wetlands approval, end quote, and the vote pass. This type of action from the PZZ members is totally out of my control. Now, when I read your minutes, I said, well, I'm going to go back and do research and find out how many applications we did approve without your approval. I started that process, and it was just that's 6 years of going back. And so I sort of dropped that idea. I figured, well, let's just move on. So I didn't do that. In regard to the PZZ approving wetlands before wetlands approving application before wetlands approval. Oh, I already said that, sorry. So my comment to your commission is to please know that I have worked together with past wetlands and conservation agents respectfully in jurisdiction of our positions. Information has been passed back and forth when needed. I've attempted to continue that respectful cooperation with the current agent when needed. It is not my place to interfere with an agency that is not in my jurisdiction, and I expect the same consideration of my position. To conclude, going forward, let me be clear on my position of ZEO. The discussion recorded in the minutes of 11/12/24 IW meeting contains some misinformation. A negative conversation took place concerning the action of the PZ members in ZEO, which is disrespectful to my PZZ commission members. They are all volunteers, as you are, and do an outstanding job, as you do, just listening to your meeting and the other couple of meetings I had to attend in the summer. And you all do an outstanding job in your duties as commission members. The PZZ commission staff members need to be invited to the table in any future discussions concerning disagreements of application and policy actions. The Inland Wetlands Agency needs to understand that my position of CEO, 1, is I answer to the Planning and Zoning Commission members. 2, I educate all inquiries of the proper procedure to comply with the zoning regulation, including in that I inform the person inquiring that they need to check with building, wetlands, NDDH, and in some instances, fire marshal, and any other department that has compliance issues for their project. If I need to communicate with these departments, I contact the head person of the department, not the selectman, the assessor, the planner, or anyone else that has nothing to do with answering my inquiry. I expect the same professional action from other department inquiries. I do compliance review, violations, and violations come to the ZEO office. And of course, any of the above may include the chairman of the P&Z and the ZBA. I review all applications that come before the commission. I research and act when appropriate on zoning violations. And finally, I handle all communications concerning zoning and zoning board of appeals. I want to thank you for your time. When I read your minutes, I said, I can't let this go without some comment from me as to some of the misinformation. So thank you again for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cindy, for those extensive and very thoughtful comments, and I appreciate their being read into the record. Commissioners, would any of you like to respond to Cindy's comments? Beyond expressing your appreciation for her. Frank.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank Cindy Dunn for commenting on the accuracy and issues at hand, which certainly can overlap when you're trying to do hard work and do a good job. And 4-hour meetings can be a bit laborious. And I can echo her comments regarding the quality of the recordings for that marathon meeting, which I did attend, and it was very hard. And I actually played it back, and a lot of, unfortunately, due to the proximity of the speakers and the recording devices, huge swaths of the comments weren't there. So a challenge for all to look upon it in retrospect months later to say what was said and what wasn't said. So I think that's important. I know that also I recall that there were comments by the other commissioners of the Planning and Zoning Commission at that very meeting. Commissioner Salsi comes to mind regarding protocols and precedent as to approvals. So I know that it was a matter to discuss, and I didn't recall seeing that in the minutes. But again, the recording was challenged. The room was a temporary one due to the voting, I believe, and it's just that's how it worked out. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Neill. Other commissioners have comments or questions for it's done? Commissioner Ober.
Charlie Obert. My observation is that there have been times in the past when there have been questions about approval from one agency to another, but there have also been a lot of hours spent revising our operational procedures, our regulations, and our bylaws. And I know that P&Z has done the same thing. We're still in growing pains. All of us who are volunteering our time to help this town be better know that it hasn't been easy. I think we're moving in the right direction. I believe that having seen Cindy at a couple of site walks and finally getting to know her, I'm feeling more optimistic. But there are going to be stitches dropped here and there as we move forward. And yes, we certainly ought to be able to come up with a decent sound system for the town hall meeting room and the library meeting room. We ought to be able to do hybrid Zoom meetings and see, we can see all of us because we're only doing Zoom. But when I go into the town trails meeting or something, it's a hybrid meeting and they don't see us. They don't see those of us that are on Zoom. Unacceptable all this time. I've raised the question several times, but I don't have authority. If I had a magic checkbook, we'd have it. Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you,
Okay.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I agree. Land use is a holistic challenge. I think that the more we can do to go at that challenge in a concerted way, the better. And it's not always obvious how best to do that. But this is a good step in that direction. So did you have any final comments, Cindy, before?
No, I just thank you for your comments and your support. And yes, land use is very difficult. I've been in it for years and years, so I certainly can identify with that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again.
Okay.
We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is revising regulations to allow for peer review. And here I'm going to share my my screen again. See if I do this in the right way. Okay. So Margaret, I'm going to ask you, I think, to take the lead on this. This is something that we talked about at our last meeting, and it's something which I think we're all in agreement we want to be able to do, and to incorporate this possibility via the fee schedules sounds to me like a good idea. I think the question is, it seems to me there are two questions. You've come up with some language here. Do we like this language? And then the other question is how can we incorporate this?
This is Margaret Washburn.
Hi, Margaret.
A previous set of regulations, I believe dated from 2009, allowed for charging a fee for what were called complex applications. And there was a paragraph that for some reason inadvertently was dropped when Marla rewrote the regulations. And I have an email from her, which is in my report. The email is dated November 30th, and she said that it was an error on her part and that this language should have been included in the revised fee schedule, but it wasn't. And so that prompted me to talk to Chairman Dustin about getting some language back into the regulations regarding being able to charge a fee for review, for peer review. And so I've drafted this based on some language from another town's ordinance, and it has been reviewed by the town attorney. He made one revision, which is in the red, and we'll get to that down here in section 4. But what this language would do if you revise your regulations would be to allow the commission to charge applicants to pay an additional fee for review for such things as engineering reviews of drainage, say for example, for a very large subdivision, or for hydrology reviews for projects involving really deep gravel pits, etc. And so this first paragraph goes on to say what we would anticipate the consultation services to include, which would be reports and attending public hearings and issuing written findings, oral testimony, possibly inspections. And so what's different between this and the language that was in the previous iteration is that this actually lays out a procedure to get an estimate for the money. I mean, typically what I would do is, if possible, if we could get an estimate from 3 different consultants, we could submit those estimates to the applicant and let them pick which one of these reviewers they wanted to hire. We don't have to tell them you have to hire Mr. X or Mrs. Y. And so, if possible, if there are 3 people that would be willing, or more, would be willing to submit estimates for the work. And so it's because partly we don't have any money in the budget to hire scientists, like for example, with the earlier discussion tonight about having a Commissioner Obert asking if we had a scientist who would say whether the idea of expanding the pond and one of the applications would be a good idea or a bad idea. We have no way to pay for that, and so this puts the burden on the applicant. So if the commission would decide whether the consultation services were necessary, and then the staff would provide to the commission a reasonable estimate for the cost. But if it was me doing it, I'd do that by asking professionals for an estimate to provide the services. And that would try to be done in a very promptly way, so not to slow the process. And once the commission approved the fee, the applicant would be billed in the amount of 125%. The fees would be due and payable in 10 receipts, and upon receipt of that fee, the commission will create an application-specific account and document the amount of the fee and all payments made for consultation services. And the commission will render periodic accounting to the applicant. Any remaining balance after the review shall be returned to the applicant within 45 days of completion. The failure of an applicant to pay the fee would make the commission be able to deem the application incomplete. And no application would be approved until all the fees have been paid in full. And finally, this statement basically is already in the fee schedule, so it's I just wanted to put it in here to make sure that we mentioned that no fees would be required for any project submitted by the town of Thompson or any of its municipal agencies. And there's already a section in the regulations that says that, but I just wanted this to be here so that everybody who's interested would realize that. So I haven't had time to go through the fee schedule and figure out what exactly, if anything, has to be struck out in order to insert this in. And in the meantime, conversation with the town planner came up, and she has suggested that the fee schedule could be taken out of the regulations and put into an addendum or an appendix, so that when it gets revised, it doesn't have to necessarily go to a public hearing, and the town attorney has supported that. So these kind of revisions take time. I just wanted to put this before you tonight for your first glimpse at it and for preliminary comments.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, any thoughts about this?
Charlie
Step-
Obert here.
Oh.
I was surprised that this had not been included into the general statute, because I know we talked about it. Yes, an oversight, a lot of the stuff, as I mentioned on the previous discussion point, a lot of changes, a lot of revisions, a lot of hours spent at word processors. I was concerned because I thought it needed to go out for a vote. I just heard that perhaps we can do it by an appendix. However it is, we need to see that in writing, and all 5 of these points are included as the basic informational education, so people know why we're charging the fees. Because we do need to be able to have the applicant pay the fee on things like that. We don't have it. We should be able to charge it. I know we've got provisions for being able to charge it. It's on the, I'm pretty sure it's on the revised forms. But we can do those without having to go to a town meeting. And we can do bylaws without having to go to a town meeting. We just have to make sure that we've got this right when we make the change. And rather than say X number of dollars, I would prefer that the language say, based on an average fee for professional services of this type at the time of the request. That way it fluctuates, and we don't have to worry about coming back and changing it.
I'm not sure I know it's getting late for me. I'm not sure I followed that last.
Well, the last part, instead of saying, let's say you do some research now, you ask some professionals, you know, and they say, oh, $500. So we say, okay, $500. And then 2, 3, 4 years go by and they say, oh, $900. But our paperwork says $500. Well, or if we say, rather than saying $500, we say, this is an average charge, a figuring of averages from 3 professionals or 5 professionals in this area. Something like that, that allows our rates to flex. It's a minor point. I'll probably be ashes in the wind by the time they figure out they need to change that again.
I think that Margaret's idea of getting estimates would be a way around establishing a standard fee, let's say for peer review, that would be incorporated in the regulations or in the fee schedule. So it seems to me to be doing what you're asking for. If you get 3 different estimates and it's up to the applicant which of those people the applicant wants to hire, then that is kind of an average.
And that way we are not fixing the fee or telling the applicant they have to pay X number of dollars. We're saying, look, we've got 5 people that we know of that do this kind of work. Check
lucky.
a few of them and get a price and get a study done.
No, that's not how it would work. I would get the estimates for the work, and they would receive the estimates, and they would select one of the people who's proposing to supply the services. They're not going out looking for estimates. I'm doing that.
Right.
That's
And
even,
as a side note, we have to make sure those people, the folks who are providing services, that there's no conflict of interest with them having worked for these applicants in the past, which can be very difficult, because I was involved with similar work in the past in Brooklyn, and virtually every engineer in the area has worked for O&G at one time, of which Rawson is a subsidiary. So we were just able to get them to sign a statement saying that they would remain unbiased while they were performing their duties, which the commission accepted.
it seems to me if we are, as a commission, volunteering Margaret Washburn's time to provide information to applicants, that should be reflected in the fee too. I mean, if it takes her 3 hours. I know you make phone calls and then you wait and you wait and you wait for somebody to get back to you. That shouldn't be our responsibility, but the cost for handling that definitely needs to be part of the application. I believe that's only fair and proper. Anything else, we're cutting our own throats.
Other comments from
Wait.
Commissioner,
Commissioner Dustin, I have a question, comment.
please.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I like the proposed criteria that was suggested by Margaret, and you know, the quantitative portion, which Commissioner Obert points out, is, you know, something that's to resolve, but it seems like a minor point as opposed to getting it in there. Let's get it in there. And I think also on the other second point regarding the this digital permalink issue, I think it's something that we need to. I mean, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. I would hope that these are all available for the public, and that we can access these things. My concern of all commissions in the town is that so much information is digital, but it isn't necessarily available to the public. And as we all become more, you know, digitally sophisticated and remote, then remote access is critical. So to the extent that we could have remote access, that'd be great, not only for us, but for everything we do. Thank you.
That is, or perhaps not, is the next item on the agenda. So we can move on to that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped the hot here. Jumped ahead.
As Margaret was asking for some initial response to this, I mean, I myself, we talked about it last time, and it sounded like a great thing for us to be able to do. This is a way to get it done. Where it goes in the regulations, it's pretty straightforward. It would go in section 19 with the other fees. But then there is this idea of taking section 19 out of the main body, which is more administrative than regulatory, out of the main body of the regulations and including it as an appendix or whatever we're going to call it, which we could revise then without a public meeting, again, because it's purely administrative. And a lot of that will probably change given the costs of things and how those.
Yeah.
So the question for our next week, our next meeting next month would be whether we're prepared, I think, to at least provisionally approve this language, and then to think about how to move forward to get it in place. And Margaret and I can talk about that in the meantime.
I have to say, this is Margaret, that being tasked with working on the permit link application and working on this at the same time, I can't promise that I can have a mock-up of revised regulations for next month. It's pretty daunting work if you're trying to be conservation and inland wetlands agent at the same time. And I'm not promising anything as far as how soon I can give a red line version. And also, what is the point of putting them in the regulations if we're just going to take them out again and put it in an addendum? I mean, I need more time to process all of this. This was all really just done over the last few days, and I prefer to take enough time to make sure that I'm confident about the changes I'm making.
Right. I appreciate that. I think I'm letting my enthusiasm run away with me. But you're absolutely right. I understand that the permit link is a more urgent matter, and we can strategize about this maybe over the coming months rather than coming weeks. But thank you for putting it together, Margaret. I think it is an important step forward for the commission.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner.
Charlie Obert here. Based on what I read and what I've already said, I agree. This should have been included into the body of the revision that we did last year. It'll be a long time before we get around to revising the regulations again. If we can do it by moving all of the price fees out into an appendix, if that simplifies it and keeps us within our legal responsibilities, I'm all for it. I think that this language is moving in the right direction, and I understand that that it's extra clerical work. I've also expressed that kind of thing. We direct it, that's one thing. If an applicant comes in and demands that these things be done, or what, then that's different. This thing, it, it looks like very small changes, and we're moving in the right direction. So we should be able to see some progress. I'm thinking about pulling out all of these regulations. I would do this as something in my spare time. Pull all the regulations and put them together as if they were an appendix, and then offering it back to Margaret for her to edit. That shouldn't be difficult. I think I can get that right off of the webpage, town's website.
The forms and fees, I think you mean, rather than.
Well, the regulations that govern forms and fees, yeah. The fees part, that's where this plugs in.
Well, we'll continue to
We can
work
do that.
In the meantime, let's go on to Permit Link, which is something I didn't know existed till recently. So this, Margaret, this is what you submitted with your report. So, and I'm sorry, I know it's getting late, and now I'm putting you up there on stage.
In
But-
the original, this is Margaret Washburn. In the original Zoom documents, there was a boilerplate form used by Permit Link for towns in Connecticut.
Okay,
And there was also a form that had been adopted by the Andover Inland Wetlands Commission. And that out of those two forms, the Andover one appealed to me more. I was able to get it in Word version. And this is my first draft, which was only created today. So I'm sure there will be some comments and changes to it. But the town planner and first selectman want to get all of the land use permits on onto Permit Link. And so I'm working towards that. And I went over this today with the base form that Marla had created. And at first we thought we were going to have Permit Link upload all the forms that Marla created, which actually there are about somewhere between 9 and 12 of them, depending on how you count them. And the fees for that would have been prohibitive. It would have been $66,750 or some such. And so I am trying to make this application form the equivalent of the base form Marla created. And then as the applicant decides which sort of application he's filing, he or she can go to either, they can either be part of Permit Link or can be posted on our website so that the folks can fill out the supplemental forms that Marla created and continue to file with the system Marla created. And theoretically, I can issue some sort of a brief approval on the Permit Link system, and I would still continue to fill out the traditional approval letters and mail them certified as required in our regulations. And I would also post that approval letter to the attachments in the Permit Link file for everyone to see.
thank you. Other commissioners, questions or comments? Margaret, I have a question. You and I have talked about this, but how quickly does this have to happen?
Well, as soon as possible.
And so what do you need from this commission? Do you
Why
need-
don't you take the next 4 weeks to review this and look at Marla's base form that's available to all and see if there's anything that you do not like about this, or give me your comments before the, at least, as soon as possible after this meeting, so I can incorporate any of those comments into, another draft for the next meeting.
Okay. That sounds like a
And then
plan.
hopefully at the next meeting, the commission could feel comfortable enough about this to approve it. And, the previous agent did not want to do online permitting, but I did it for about 5 years in Brooklyn, and I'm willing to do it. And seems, definitely what the first selectman and town planner want done.
It seems to me that it's something we should be able to do. Other commissioners have thoughts about this?
Sir, I have a question here. I just as Margaret was concluding her report, I went to the website and downloaded the regulations that were adopted in January or in July of last year. I don't find anything in here about fees. Where are they?
They're in section 19,
19.2.
page 30.
Application fees. Okay, thank you. Now I've got it. And I'll plug in the information that Margaret included on the draft and take a look at how it would, see if I can figure out how it will fit. I've got it. So thank you.
It just seemed to Margaret and me that and perhaps others of you that Marla had some language that wasn't always clear or helpful. Calling it a complex fee, for example, didn't sounded scary to me, but it's worth comparing those versions. So thank you all.
It's all in marketing. You can charge more for a complex fee.
I know. We should charge for streamlining, for government efficiency. All right, good. Let's move on to the next item, and that is citizens' comments. I thought we had at least one citizen out there. Do we?
You do. I see.
Can I make-
Clark. Miss Clark is out there.
Yes, I saw her.
Can I make a comment as a
You're-
citizen?
Course.
I just want to comment on the permalink. I stayed on to hear your discussion on the permalink application form. I support, having all three departments be on the permalink. And as a person who resisted it for a couple of years, again, because the selectman and the planner would like to see all the departments on it, I support it and I'm working with it, and it's, pretty easy to work with. And I think it helps all three departments working together. So, so good job.
It should facilitate information sharing. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Ms. Clark, I see your virtual hand is raised.
Valerie Clark, Alm Road, Thompson. One that may be a point of order. I noticed late in the meeting that Commissioner Morano had joined, and I don't recall that anyone had noted what time Commissioner Morano joined. And I know you had alternates seated in her place, but I thought I ought to call that out. And then the only other thing that concerns me about the discussion regarding the fees for requiring a consultant on an applicant, I think somehow you need to, and I think it's a difficult topic, but find a way that you write into that requirement a way that you can identify how to make sure that's fair and not arbitrary. Because it strikes me that it would be fairly easy to say to one person that perhaps you didn't like their project as much on whatever level, that they have to pay these fees and hire a consultant, whereas another project arbitrarily might go through without having have a consultant. I don't know how you handle that. I think it's a difficult topic, but the difficulty with requiring something like this is that it opens that box. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. That's I think an excellent point, and there is some sensitivity there.
This
And
is
thank
Margaret Washburn. If I may just let everybody know, I noted when Commissioner Morano joined us, and Gloria may have also, our recording secretary, and I I appreciate Ms. Clark's point about the fact that Fran joined us after Greg had been seated. So she's raising a point that is valid.
Yes, thank you. I don't know when Commissioner Morano entered the room. Whether that was, we haven't taken a vote in a while.
Yeah, I don't think we have since
No,
she,
it was at 8:14, and no votes have been made since.
yeah.
Good. All right, that would be my concern.
I saw that Amy St. Ange had her hand up, but she's pulled it down, so maybe she doesn't want to. I'm not
Don't
going to put her on the spot.
If anybody else would like to speak. Thank you, Ms. Clark, as always, very helpful comments. This brings us now to reports, beginning with the budget and expenditures report, which is, this is the most recent budget and expenditures report, which, if I'm not mistaken, is here somewhere at the very end.
Page 86, possibly.
86, yeah. I've just got to grab it and go. Why am I not getting that? Okay. There we go.
Chair Dustin and Commission, this is Treasurer Langer. And
Treasurer Langer, thank you.
and when we look at the December accounting that you have in front of you, all of the allocations are still falling in line, except for the one for the office supplies, which we note each month as due to the allocation of the cell phone bill for Margaret. And we will be taking care of that hopefully in the next budget. And with that, there is still allocations in most of our line items. And so we're still running at the bottom line of about 46.1%.
And that's good.
That's good.
Thank you. Commissioners have any questions or concerns about this budget report?
I will bring one item to everyone's attention. When we take a look at travel, it shows that currently we're at 62.9%, but the available budget is only $37. That's not quite a lot of budget and allocation left over. And knowing that the amount of travel that Margaret might need to do with her personal vehicle versus the town vehicle based on sharing of that vehicle, just bringing that to attention, which will become part of the conversation when we look at the next draft budget.
Okay, good, because $37 won't get you to New Haven. Why don't I move over there now? And I apologize, but I have to flip back and forth between two sets of, or more sets of Zoom docs. Okay, here is the final draft budget for your review. Commissioner Langer, would you like to lead the discussion here as well?
Can you share that for everyone to see?
Oh, sorry, am I not doing that? I think when I change, so let me do that. And let me do that. Let me do that. There we go. Okay.
Thank you, Chair Dustin.
You're very welcome.
This is Treasurer Langer. What we are looking at here is the collection of work with Margaret and myself, reevaluating the past couple of years of our budget allocations, as well as taking the input pertaining to the salary increases of the 4%, which are on the first two line items, And then as we worked our way down through each one of the previously identified budget line items, you can see at the very last column to the right that several of them we've left the same at a 0% change. And a few of them we have made an adjustment, working its way down to, oops. I can't, let me see if I look at my paperwork.
Oh,
So
because I've gone off. There you go.
there we go. Yep. Okay. So for the two, for Margaret herself, the wetlands officer, and the recording secretary, those increases were, information was provided to us. So we just implemented that into this new budget report. Professional affiliations, we did not identify or know of any changes that would need to be added to the next budget. So that remains the same and constant. Travel, based on the conversation we just had, we did identify and requesting a 25% increase into the budget. Meetings and fees, initially we had not much change associated with that until the conversation of the permit link fees came full circle. So what we've done here is we have added the cost for each one of those fees, which then is supplemented by the cash flow that comes in. Since we have to pay the provider, the service provider, we have to show that that has to become a budgeted line item so that that money can come out of our budget.
So can you explain to me, this is the cost per permit, or is it the cost per application?
Per permit, per
permit.
application, per permit, yes.
Okay.
And we went back and looked at the total number for the last couple of years, picked the average of 36 and utilized that at $12 per permit per application. And that's what we've added to the budget line item.
That seems rather expensive to me, but what do I know?
If the permits don't come in, the allocations don't go back out. But if they come in, we actually got the fee and the income coming in to cover them.
Okay.
So yeah,
Right.
it shouldn't be a negative hit on the budget at any point in time.
If I may please add something, and thank you very much, Commissioner Langer. It's sort of considered a pass-through expense in that when someone applies for the permit, they have to pay us $12. We turn around and give that $12 to Permit Link. So the director of finance is going to put that extra money into the revenue, and so it's sort of it's not expensive to us. It's a pass-through expense. Do you understand now?
I do now. Yeah, thank you. It's like a processing fee that, okay, good.
Certainly, processing fee, yep.
Thank you. Do other have questions, or I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Professional services, we did not show any need to have an increase. When it came to advertising, we put in 25%, not knowing the total number of ads that we would have to place, or if there's any increases that might come from the shopper's guide. And probably the biggest line item is the new budget line in the next section down, cell phone. That way we can keep the cell phone costs separated from our office supply costs where they're currently being allocated, just to make it cleaner as those costs come in, and we can then compare in future years as to how our costs and how our usage is going.
Thank you.
David, I had a question.
Yes, please.
Did I miss it, or is there a separate line that shows the amount of fees charged or collected by the commission?
Not as income. This is
Well, I'm just looking
outgoing
at,
budget.
I get it, but do we have just at a real rough order of magnitude? You know, we're looking at $40,000 issue. I mean, do you have a feeling for? Do we collect 30,000, 50,000, 100,000? Do you have any feeling for that?
I personally don't have those numbers in my head, or even have reviewed them myself personally.
Yeah, I just wanted, because I guess when I work on budgets, I sort of like I'm in a different business. I'm in the not in the nonprofit, but still, it's always like even if you're a nonprofit, you have donations versus expenses, and I just want to get an idea of where we, relatively where we stand. Thank you.
How much?
I have a
Fair question.
observation that brings up a really good point, though. The discussion that I heard something about a $14 as a pass through, but that's a application fee charge, and it shouldn't show up in the budget, should it? Or
Yeah.
I don't see where it does. I heard discussion, and I
Yeah.
couldn't follow that discussion. Absolutely, we need to cover our costs. But we're not asking the town taxpayers to pay for that, except when they come in to have an application processed. So that's like a limited, restrictive flow through, nothing that we're asking the town taxpayers for. But I thought I heard a discussion point that indicated that it might show up in here somewhere.
It does show up under the meetings, fees, and etc. The second to last column shows a dollar value of $432. And that dollar value has been calculated from the average number of permits of 36 at the $12 per permit fee that we will have to pay to Permit Link.
We pay.
No, but we're asking the applicant to really pay that money.
That is correct. That income comes in and will go into our income stream. This is just carrying an allocation for an outgoing back to permit fee. Permit Link, excuse me.
Okay, I
Thanks.
think I always deal better with rhetoric than arithmetic, but thank you.
And Commissioner Langer, or maybe Margaret, so when we collect money for fees generally from applicants, that money all goes into the town's coffers. Is that right? It's not like it doesn't go to the commission.
Correct.
Well, right. I should know that. If there's no further discussion, do we need a motion to approve the budget? I think we do.
I'll make a motion that we approve this budget and encourage it to the Board of Selectmen and the Finance to pass it.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Commissioners Ober.
O'Neill.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? If not,
I have a comment before you go any further, which is that I think I heard Commissioner Moreno vote, and since Greg Corso was seated, I think she might want to restrain herself from voting since Commissioner Corso is still seated.
thank you. I heard too, but
Mr. Chairman, ordinarily, I think I would agree, but this seems like it was carrying unanimously anyway, so it's a non-issue.
okay. So
For Robert's rules and all.
so I don't need to retake the vote.
I don't think so. It's been a while since I read Robert's rules, but I've been parliamentarian for a long time.
But it seems
For the sake of any further votes, is there some action we should take?
for the sake of any further votes.
Yes.
Do we have anything else we're going to need to vote on?
No. Oh, I don't think we don't need a motion to adjourn, although I typically ask for one.
Yeah, and even once that's seconded, it can't be debated.
That's right.
That's
So
Robert's rules.
sit out on the adjournment, I think, if you don't mind. But
I
don't
think we
leave-
covered a lot of important points tonight. We've talked about them in the past, and it's a good time now as we're rolling into this new year
That's
to
right.
review them. I like
Thank-
what I heard about Margaret's comments about how we can take a look at putting this language in so we're covered.
Yes.
I like what I heard about it's got to be a new application for that property on Zero Aquatic Farmtown Road. I think we're moving in the right direction for this town.
I agree. Thank you. And thank you. So we've skipped over correspondence, but that's fine because we have none signing.
Oh, wait, we do. Margaret wants us to consider joining the what's the advantages to joining the soil scientists organization that Margaret referenced? It's a good newsletter, and it's that program about a project that's an improvement. We could find one or two in the town.
Margaret, how much does it cost for us to join cause?
I'm sorry, things got so busy this week that I lost track of that, and it's not in my report, so I'll have that information for you at the next meeting. I'm sorry.
We have that to look forward
It
to.
seems like a great organization, and we support a couple of other regional organizations, but we know what we get from them too, because of the conservation district and those that.
Yeah.
What advantages, I'm not sure, but
Educate.
I do think that she brings a good point. It's a resource we haven't been aware of.
That's right. Education is paramount. So correspondence, none for tonight. Mylar's done. Comments by commissioners. We've started. Any further comments by commissioners? If not, I'll echo Commissioner Obert, and I'll thank you all for the work we did tonight. And we've taken some important steps.
I've got something to add, which is that you might want to let the members know that you did sign the Mylars for the.
Yeah, I did, done. That's what I meant by that. I did sign.
Which one was that? Which Mylar?
It was, remind me, Margaret, it was Passay Road, wasn't it?
Is that where they're putting in? No, that's not where they're putting in the solar farm. Oh, I know. There's 3-house subdevelopment down there.
It was the 3 houses.
Okay,
That's right. That's right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. I take that as a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, go.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any
Good night.
abstentions? Good night, everyone, and thank you.
Yeah, stop
Thank you.
recording. Yeah, good.